Welcome back. Hello, hello. So here we are. I'm going to attempt to talk while I'm inking about an experience I had last night. Victorian time travelers here. Good afternoon, sir. Hello, hello. How are we doing, buddy? Hope you are well. Hold on, I dropped something. I gotta pick it up. Where did it go? So last night, I'm going out. I go out dancing every Saturday, and hold on. I ended up like the event was at like 10. That's how it was listed, and so I show up at 10, and they're still setting up the equipment, and I'm like, you know, that kind of stuff is annoying to me. Like if you say don't waste my time. I'm really picky about time, and I don't like having my time being wasted. But so I'm just having a drink, sitting around. Hello, hello to Caravaggio. Wow, Caravaggio's here. Excellent. Good to have you, bud. Telling a little story about, I'm going to call it Interview with a Leftist. So I go dancing on the weekends, and, I know a lot of just city folk that are by default, very leftist, And there's one dude who, he's kind of like, he really, I don't know, he's like a fanboy. He like likes everything that I post and on my normie account and this and that. And he's very beta male. He's very, very beta, you know. Sweet guy, But I mean, this is just what it is. Like the liberals are liberals. That's what they are. So, and I just kind of like have a good time and goof around, have fun. So, it's my break from politics and, you know, worrying about the world or whatever. So anyway, I'm hanging out and I'm just kind of killing time, having a drink, waiting for the show to start, and he arrives. So, kind of hanging out at the table, just having our drinks and talking. And out of nowhere, he says, like, oh, political science is like a hobby of mine. And, oh, really? Oh, really? Well, I got a lot of questions for you then. So I go into this kind of, like, he has no idea who I am, like, really, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know my political postings and the Donald Kent and all that stuff. So anyway, let's take a quick hello. Victorian says, I didn't know you had a normie account. Yes. Anyway, so I'm creating all these questioning strategies to investigate his logic, and then to like throw him some curveballs. Like if immigrants can't make their own countries better, how are they going to make our country better? That kind of stuff. We've got a lot of these type of arguments in our kind of linguistics, etc. So Yes, I mean, I'm on the one hand, I'm on a little bit of a learning mission, but on the other hand, I'm also setting him up to question him and kind of break down his leftist logic, if you could call it that. And I'm always looking for opportunities to learn things and stuff. So, but I had to do it in a way that was not threatening to him. Do you get my point? I had to find, he already likes me just as like a club friend and my normie stuff or whatever. So I have his trust, and so we get into it, and I'm like, okay, where do you stand on A B C D F G? And it's kind of the usual stuff that you could imagine. I mean, he admits straight out of the gate like I'm a leftist. But and then he goes into his little caveats. And one of the things that was cool is that he was really strongly against anti like he's anti-Zionist and against the state of Israel. And I'm like, shook hands and I asked him like, do you think that the far right, because Republicans are not anti-Zionist and anti-Israel, it's the far right that is. Get that clear. And then I said like, do you think that this is a point that the far left and the far right could come together on and just sort of coordinate or come together on in some way? And he was like, that was a really, really challenging concept to him, because, the mortal enemies. Anyway, so he's like, maybe if the result of it was not racist or, harmful to Jewish people, because, and in his logic, it's like Zionism is not about Jewish people, the Jewish race per se, even though we know a lot about like Ashkenazi and all that other stuff. And our guys would argue otherwise, but so we went on talking about other things, and it's kind of difficult, frankly, to like go through every single detail. It was a pretty long conversation. But at the end of it, I started getting into questions of identity, like why, this and that. And I was getting into that, and I'm asking him questions like, how do you feel about immigration? And he's like, well, I'm not open borders, but blah, 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 whatever. And then I said, how do you feel about becoming a minority in your own country? And like, he almost had like a gleeful, happy kind of like it doesn't matter. We're all just people, man. And I said, well, that's what white liberals say, but that's not what other races say. And that gave him like a really, really hard slap in the face of like, huh? Like, what do you mean? Like the people I'm defending hate me and have tribalism and collectivism, but I don't? And there was a bit of a short circuit there in the circuitry. It's again, it's hard to kind of go through every single detail of the conversation, and I always kept it within a certain realm where I was still safe, and like I didn't look like I was attacking him, kind of, but rather just asking him difficult questions and on a mission to understand him. And of course, people love to talk about themselves, so he was happy to oblige. In the end, what I discovered is a really, 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 really deep sense of self-negation, a sense that, I'm a good person. I'm here to serve humanity because humanity is all the same. We're all the same. We're all just individuals, man. That's his out. That's his excuse to not take his own side. It's a mental illness as far as I could tell you. To like if you broke this down and you're like, okay, doctor, we have a patient here who is, has no sense of self-identity, self-worth, connection to his own people, and is actively working towards alienating himself and his people from their own home. You would say, oh, well, this person needs to be institutionalized. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, like, when it's called like Democrat, then like, oh, now it's just okay. Now it's okay to be that way because we're Democrats. Very fucked up shit. Very, very fucked up. And again, the thing that kind of annoys me about all of this is how the left is so hardcore about identity when it comes to minorities, but they're anti-identity when it comes to whites. And that kind of what do you call it? Like that contradiction is like sunlight to a vampire. When you point that out to them, they have a kind of a breakdown. They lose their shit a little bit, and they have all the little talking points that get them off the hook, and they're talking points that they say to each other in their little retarded echo chamber. But when they say it to me, it doesn't fly. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, well, so then, as I said, these kind of like, how I was saying things like, why is it America's responsibility to give foreigners like a better life? Oh, well, because America has always been this about evolution, and it's always been about immigration. It's always been about, progressing to the next phase of whatever. And we gotta have, immigrants if we're gonna do that. We as a nation cannot evolve without immigrants. And I'm like, okay, well, define immigrants. So like, here you got a high IQ guy that's really good. He can work in Silicon Valley and he understands, blah 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 blah, and then you got another guy that could maybe barely push a broom and doesn't speak English, and like, which one of these should we allow to immigrate? Oh, well, we're all just individuals, man. We're all just individuals. Zero fucking concept of anything. Like, it's in a sense not low IQ. It's like evil IQ, if you could want to put it that way. It's like the idea that it's this, I don't know what else to call it. It's just simply anti-white. I mean, that's just straight point blank what the fuck it is. And so I kept kind of creeping the spotlight closer and closer to that. And then he'd get like more and more nervous about it. And so I'd have to kind of back off a little bit and reframe things or something, and kind of something, and a little joke and a little compliment, and and here's the thing about leftists is that their entire existence is qualifying towards the tribe. And the tribe is essentially feminine. You see what I'm saying? So like, it's feminine to think like, I'm here to take care of everybody. I'm here to serve other people. I'm only here to help. He's a counselor. The dude, like, I don't want to get into his personal stuff, but and that kind of, even that career, that field is super highly Jewish. You know what I mean? This whole like Hippocratic oath, who is the radioactive man? That is actually, hold on, I'll show you the character. Technically, it's basically, shit, it's not the page. Here we go. So we have these two characters. One is called the Russian Bear. The Russian Bear. Who do you think that might be? Okay. And so he's got the bear thing here, and then he lands in the Iron Man position, and he's fighting this guy who's called God Emperor. And God Emperor is of course, Trump. And so, who do you think this guy is? He would be Putin. I mean, they're not Trump and Putin. They're cartoon characters. You know what I'm saying? But in the story, they wear these bands, these metal bands on their head. Anyone who has that on means that they're controlled by the small hats. That means that there's like a kind of a psychological, kind of like the guy at the club that I'm talking about. They're mentally captured, hypnotized, basically. So God Emperor smashes it, and then he's like, oh my God, I'm free. And he's sent into battle with this nuclear bomb on him, and so they, whatever. This is a sort of a truce where, like, they save the day, something or other. Poutine, yes. He looks like an older brother teaching an important life lesson. Well, this guy is Gruggum. You remember the Grug memes? There was a short time when Grug was like a thing, and then it faded away. That shows you how old this story is. Like, we started this years ago. This guy right here is one of my favorite characters called Ortho Bro. Ortho Bro. Kind of funky. He's like an Orthodox Christian superhero. Anyway, he's pretty neat. I just like the design and shit. So we're gonna move forward, and here we go. What do you know? Yeah, I'm gonna finish this up a little bit here. Let's check some chat. Tactical gear with tactical nuke. Yes. Sorry, I gotta go back and read some chat here. I didn't know you had a Normie account. What are some of the most right-wing comics? Tintin, maybe? That's a really tough question, Caravaggio. I think some people think that Judge Dredd is like a right-wing extremist comic. He's like a judge, jury, executioner, and he goes out and, in this dystopian future of like, whatever, the end of the world kind of shit, and then he just like kills people basically. There really are not a lot, if any, like explicitly right-wing comics that I could really tell you about. I think what we're doing here is clearly, it's got, right-wing dog whistles and Easter eggs, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so there's that. But okay, here we go. I'm sorry, let me back up. What do you call it? Comicsgate. Have you heard of Comicsgate? It's like Gamergate, Watergate. So I would Google Comicsgate, and what it is it's make comics fun again. So the idea there is that, hold on, I gotta do this. Comics are too woke, and therefore, I'm trying to see like how does this angle work. So therefore, there's like all these creators that came out and made comics that are fun, and some of them have right wing qualities. Others are not right wing per se, but they say or show things that are not allowed in left wing woke comics. You get my point? So you can kind of take that for what it's worth. Chuck Dixon is a pretty well known, popular DC Marvel comics author, and he's worked with a lot of people. You can look up Chuck Dixon, Vox Day. Vox Day is probably the most right-wing comics publisher out there. So I would go to Vox Day, I don't know, .com, I don't know what I forget what his publishing company is called. So yeah, there is stuff out there. I just didn't have it on my mental radar. Let's read a few things. What do we got? Hideous, welcome, Hideous. What's good? Hideous's music is good. Hideous DJ is good. Who's Radioactive Man? I read that, did that. Looks like an older brother. Tactical. Hello from Masquerade. Silly, welcome, Masquerade. Great to have you. Hippocratic Oath says, what does he say? Let's read it. He says, Robert E. Howard's Conan is pretty right-wing. Don't know if there is a comic true to the author. Castilia House, thank you. That is Vox Day. Caravaggio is, you're on your way, buddy. Now you got stuff to look up. All right, rock and roll. So, excuse me. I was talking about my interview with a leftist last night, and without remembering every single talking point and every single political view this guy has, the final analysis was that I don't know how to put this. Imagine he has like an anti. How do I put this? His entire political radar compass mechanism is based on denial of white identity. It's totally based on that, and also it's this notion that you know everyone is just an individual and nobody is part of a group, except for when you have to say that they are, and you have to recognize that they have their own culture. But when it comes to white people, no, we don't have a culture, and we don't have interests, and blah 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 blah. So again, I caught him several times in this contradiction, and he just like squirmed out of it basically every time. He just squirmed out of it, and I wasn't trying to have a fight with the dude. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm just asking questions, I just want to see your reasoning for things, And then in the end, I was like, okay, so what is your view of me? Like, what do you think I am? What's your impression of me? And then he says, well, I'd say you're a libertarian. I'm a libertarian. See, like, these people are so grotesquely caught in an echo chamber that they don't really know far right views. They don't even know what we think, or all they think is we're just racist. Everything is racism, racism, racism. That's we're cartoon characters. We're cartoon Nazis. We literally don't have any logic or basis whatsoever for our political views. We're just hate. All it is hate, hate, hate. And it's dehumanizing. It's nothing new. I mean, it's not like this is some kind of new thing. But for him to well, granted, I didn't go full bore on like, okay, these are my views, but by the nature of the questions that I was asking him, like, how do you feel about being a minority in your own country? And why is America responsible for providing a better life for foreigners, da 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 da, et cetera, et cetera. The best he could come up with was that I'm a libertarian. Wow. So what that says is the scope of their understanding of our views only goes that far. You get my point, I kind of wish that I could do more. Like I could, maybe sit down and sort of think through maybe more questioning strategies and, see where I can go with it. But at the end of the day, these people have their scripts pre-written for them. They're all like, what's that liberal Sunday radio show? I think it's international, or not it's a national. Fuck if I can remember the fucking shit. Anyway, it's just like the kind of shit that is just canned opinions from all of these liberal shows that, again, echo chamber, But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So he's always been a beta male. It's not like this is just essentially who he is. I don't. I'm not gonna red pill this guy, but that's actually another point to make. Is that in my view of these things, the reason why white males become liberal is because they can't. What's the word? They can't compete. They're like not Chad, if you know what I'm saying. And I don't think you have to be Chad to be right wing. You don't have to be, you know, 6'7" with like a six pack and a blah blah blah. Like I think that's even a cartoon. But it's this type of qualifying towards women. It's like, well, women are very liberal. Therefore, if I want to be loved, I have to say the things they want to hear. I have to agree with the things that they believe. And the harder that I do that, the more I qualify for their love and approval. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing. The feminization of culture, politics, what have you. When I first met the guy, he was complaining about this, like he kind of just started divulging all this information about this girl that he's in love with and how she was just totally using him and like making a buffoon out of him. Hello to Christine French. Can you draw Han Ji Sung from Stray Kids? I can draw anything. I can draw anything. Hold on. Trying to find my book. Shit, I don't seem to have my art book handy. I could show you guys my fine art and stuff. I literally can draw anything. So drawing is a skill. It's like a language. So it's like if I spoke Korean fluently, and then somebody said, "Okay, can you order dinner in Korean?" Then I would just go, "감사합니다. 여보세요." And then do it. Okay, now can you tell me how to get to the bank from here? Okay, it's just a language. You understand the way space and form work, and then you draw it. That's it. So granted, style and quality and those things that they vary a lot. You have good artists and not so good artists. People that still have to focus on developing their skills. Where the fuck is my book? God damn it. Every time I need it, I can't find the fucking thing. This is stupid. I better be more organized. That's one thing artists are really bad at. It's like we're great at one thing, but horrible at another. I guess is that autism? Oh, speaking of autism. So this guy's a counselor, and he can like determine whether or not people need to have like psychotropic drugs for their problems. So right away, I was asking him, like, do you think that, he was talking about autism, and I'm like, do you think that autism comes from vaccines? And the thing about liberals is that they have this real twitchy, I don't know what to call it, like, how do I call this? Like, a kind of a twitch reaction to certain types of questions. So that question is a very right-wing conspiracy kind of question. And instead of just simply answering the fucking question, they want to give you a lecture. You know what I mean? They want to like shit on your face and like make you feel like an idiot because, well, that's just some fake news, right wing kind of blah, 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 blah. And so, he went ahead and did his little speech and showed me how much better he is than I am because he's better than me. And so I'm like, okay, I wasn't born yesterday. It's not my first rodeo. I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm not made out of eggshells. You cannot break me. Okay, so like, this is like who I am. Anyway, these little like peacock shows that they do are just he's basically acting as if I were liberal, and he's putting on the little performative show of like, this is what you say when somebody asks you this question. You know what I mean? Like I said, like little robots. And I'm like, okay, it's not really far from what I was, I expected you to behave like this, so fine, go on. And anyway, the way he described that is he said that no, it's not. The huge rise in autism is not from vaccines. It is because we have been misdiagnosing it for years. We just called it other stuff. When people acted a certain way, we called it like, I don't know, anger issues, or I don't know, who fucking knows? I don't know, but it wasn't called autism, therefore they were misdiagnosing it. And that to me is just is fluff. It's kind of a fluffy answer, because I know already that there is evidence showing that these vaccines that the state forces families to put their kids through in order to join public school, which is run by the state, is connected to rates of autism. So it's a nightmare scenario. He works for the state, so he's obviously going to defend it, right? He's never ever going to be like, yeah, the institution that I'm a part of and I defend is actually causing fucking autism. No. That's no, 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 no. You don't ever go against. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Oh, meanwhile, he gets paid shit and is like, has a hard job and eats shit. So it's like massive slave mentality type. Like, what's that called? What's that called when you defend your enslaver? There's a word for that. A Hippocratic oath will know. Munchausen syndrome or something. I forget the name of it. Let's read some chats here. Let's read some chats. Castilia House, thanks, I will. Victorian says, not a comic, but Thomas the Tank Engine is very right wing. Oh, that's cool. Christina, can you draw? I read that. Critical Review, hey, welcome back, good afternoon. Hideous says, I got a gift basket from Coca-Cola Company sent last Friday. I opened a faulty glass bottle of cola and cut my lip. You're fucking kidding me. I have Coke for the next year. Meaning they're because of that, they're gonna give you free Coke for a year. Is that the deal? Victorian time traveler, one thing is that the amount of things that are called autism has expanded. So there you go, and now you know. Now you're an expert in the field. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is like, okay, we already know that. We've been dealing with this bullshit for 100 years, so it's not really new to like hear about these talking points or what have you. But I don't know. It's kind of like a little sociological study. What's interesting to me is kind of walking him into points where it's like, okay, so if you believe this, then why do you believe that? Because they're contradictory. That's kind of fun a little bit, to do that. I got to admit, at the end of the day, I felt angry, and just not end of the day, but like at the end of the conversation, I felt kind of angry about the whole thing because of just like this weird psychopathy, I guess, of anti-whiteism, like how white people actively play a role in the destruction of their own people, world, culture, history, everything. And it keeps backing up my view, that who controls the narrative controls the man. If you believe yourself to be what the institutions tell you and the echo chamber tells you, then you will fall. Oh shit! I fucked up. I gotta fix that in Photoshop. Fuck. You will behave accordingly, and so this is like one of the most key aspects to us winning is that we have to reteach our people who we are. And I do think, obviously, the arts and the culture are one of the most effective ways to do that, you know. So, hence, here I am, you know what I mean? You know, because how did he become who he is and I became who I am? You know, I went through the same education system. You know, I was a default liberal because of being in the arts and education. What happened? How did I get out? How did I escape the matrix? And he's still in it. And quite a lot of it has to do with knowing the truth about who we are and celebrating it and loving it, owning it, not ever being ashamed and looking for an excuse to defend people that want to fucking kill us, you know? Why in the fuck would you do that, you know? But they do it, you know? That's like literally the whole deal of who they are, you know? There's a really deep psychological fear of owning up to being white and like embracing it, loving it. There's a horrible fear about that, you know. And the environment of like the club where we're at yesterday, for example, you know, blacks, gays, lesbians, punks, like just every form of like lefty degenerate is kind of like everywhere around us, you know. It's, you know, and so like in an environment like that, you have to aggressively deny being white, or you know what I'm saying. And deny is kind of not the best word, but you somehow have to exude something that says like I'm a safe white person, I'm not racist, you know what I mean. And but here's the thing, I'm out on the dance floor, and like the okay, so there were some like Puerto Rican gangsters at the club last night, and they came up to me and shook my hand and like were like, you know, right on, you're cool. And how is it that I get that treatment but he doesn't? Because they understand strength, they understand power, and they don't, you know, they'll mug him, whereas they'll shake my hand. You see the difference, you know. He'll be their victim. I'll go home free. So it's disturbing. It's hard, but we got to keep moving forward. Not like I like hanging out with Puerto Rican gangsters. That's not. I mean, they're just at the club, and they're every once in a while they'll come in to this particular club because it's like in their hood, and they just kind of like scope it out and see what's going on, and you know, normally I like if there's too many of them, I'll leave because it's just like, you know, some shit can pop off too easily when there's too many of them. They'll chimp out basically. But overall, though, it wasn't like that last night. So, oh, let's read comments from cool people. We got some cool people in the chat here. Let's check them out. I got sent 2 times 48 bottles. That's incredible. I hope your lip is okay. Hippocratic Oath says, "Do you think you can convince him through argument, or should he go into a smart city and enter nirvana?" So he'll definitely be a smart city guy. He will gleefully run towards that. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll be like, "Yes, this is progress, man. Where's the Kool-Aid?" You know what I'm saying? He's like that guy. And he'll look at me, everybody. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. See, approve me, love me. See, I'm safe. You know that he's that beta male. There's so the convince them by argument is a very interesting concept because they have all of those bases covered. They've got all their little rote answers, if you know what I'm saying. There's not really. I mean, you can out talk them or outthink them. You definitely can trick them per se into see how you're contradicting yourself or whatever you know. But what the end result of that is they'll just say "fuck you, Nazi," and run away like a little faggot. You know what I mean? Like they're not adults. You know what I'm saying? So with that being the case, there was like, I knew that that would be the outcome. So I wasn't trying to, make an enemy or something. This is a guy I'm gonna see out on the scene a lot, and I don't have any malice towards him. He's a decent guy. I think we'll probably keep talking at some point, like when the opportunity arises, there'll be some kind of time where we can get into something, and I'll toss a few more challenging questions at him. I'll see how he handles it or whatever, and just kind of take it from there. It'll be interesting, but I don't personally believe there's any hope for these people. I don't think there's any. I mean, maybe that's wrong. I mean, I would never say I was a full-on liberal. I never was. I grew up in a devout Catholic family, and by default, we're very conservative. I think what might be called liberal about me was that I was interested in, new and different ideas like Buddhism and these kinds of things. That's not typically what like a conservative would be investigating or thinking about. The arts have a certain hedonism. You know what I'm saying? There's definitely a certain hedonism to the arts. You kind of surrender yourself to your passions, and that's not very conservative. You know, and I lived like that for a number of years in college, New York City, whatever, that kind of thing. But my values, I think, were always pretty core. I've always been anti-LGBT. I'll never change on that. I will never, ever change on that. I think that one can understand that in certain ways that are logical or medical or psychological and even spiritual, but it's a net what's the word? Not a gain. What's the opposite of a gain? It's a net harm to society. If I don't know how else to phrase that. So it never ever should be something. For example, you should never have children around that. It's that's a whole rabbit hole we could go down in itself, and I'm not in the mood to talk about that. That's not really a topic I find very pleasant. But I'm not rude to gays, for example. I don't treat people, you know, in any kind of particularly mean way. My memes are pretty bad though. like my social media can be very, very, very offensive. It's a way of expressing how you actually feel. without, you know, confronting someone directly. And that's again another rabbit hole. Can he be? Can he be saved? Good question. Good question. That particular guy, you know, like I don't know. You know, if he got, let's say, he got jumped by a bunch of black guys, or you know, something, 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 then that things like that do radicalize people. You know, radical is this, that's the totally wrong way to put it. They don't radicalize people; they enlighten people. They make people wake up to, like, you know. There's a famous clip from like what was it, the 2020 riots? Was that when it was around that time? And it's a white guy. He's wearing a green plaid shirt, and he's in white shoes, and he's running around, you know, during the riots. And there was a bunch of black dudes that came over and beat him to death. They literally beat him to death. He died. It was one of the most brutal killings that I've ever seen. It was so, I'll never be able to forget what I saw. It's burned into my mind. And he kept begging, "I'm on your side. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. I'm on your side." And they fucking kicked him, beat him. He didn't die immediately. He was convulsing and shivering and vomiting blood, and his bones were broken, multiple bones, and they got him to the hospital. He died in the hospital. And I see that and I think, Heil Hitler. You know what I mean? And that's the world we're living in, folks. That's the world we're living in. That's the reality. At the same time, I got black friends that I hang out on the weekends with that are completely not like that. You know, like good people, good, decent people, and we have a great time together. You know what I mean? But what is it? Which is it? What, you know, like how is it ever? This is the whole point of the discussion, is the abstraction of individuals versus peoples, a person versus peoples. So, in the grand scheme of things, we on the far right see the peoples, we see the tribe, not the individual. On the far left, everybody's an individual, we're all the same. I'm on your side, I'm on your side. And then keep kicking your ribs in until you vomit fucking blood. And what about his parents? What about his siblings? What about his friends at his funeral? Oh, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. It's not good to be white. I'm ashamed of being white. I'm not racist. The guy who his son got stabbed in the heart at the sports event, that was a big one in the news. I don't remember the kid's name. The first fucking thing his dad says is, "Well, it's not about race." Of course it's fucking about race. You know, it's horrible. It's horrible. The whole thing is so terribly tragic. Anyway, let's read some comments. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little negative here. Saying not racist is the same as saying I'm not white. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Hideous says, "Donald, I hear drum and bass." Yes, sir, I have a little drum and bass in the background. Keep the energy up. Trying to get some work done here. I've been falling behind. Craig says they need the thought process communicated to them. Well, you get out there and get on it, buddy. I know you can save him. I'm still at work. I have trouble understanding the details when drawing. What are those lines on Thag guy chest? The guy's chest. The guy's chest. Okay, I'll demonstrate that in a second when I pull out another example. So that guy has a kind of like a skin suit made out of gold. It's like a gold nanotech that, I don't know if you ever saw like any of the Avengers or that kind of stuff. where the suit kind of transforms. So here's the dude the costumes covering him, and these type of lines demonstrate, excuse me, where light is reflecting off of. Imagine if he was totally made out of chrome, or and it's just like, or think of the Silver Surfer. His skin is made of metal. How do you draw reflections on metal that is in these extremely complicated shapes? Well, this is how you do it. So when this page gets colored digitally and you see the gold over it and all the highlights of light and shadow, it's so incredibly beautiful. It pops right off the page. It looks kick ass. So that's a whole other thing. You guys need to go to newdelphimedia.com and you can see some amazing animations with my art. So in this particular case, his mask is like come off, but his body is still covered with this kind of gold nanotech. And that is the explanation that you've always wanted. Craig says, yeah, I think he has translucent arms. Yume Aw says, I have those same pens, I think. Hi, Yume. Where are you from, Yume? Hideous says there's a movement in Iceland that is countering the LGBT movement. You know, I did, and this is just a topic I always feel like bleh, and I don't really like talking about that, but I would say that there are gays that are against the movement, in that, like, for example, I worked with a guy who never went to like parades, and he was like, that's the most insane thing ever. It makes us look like fucking pervert rapists. Like, why in the hell would you walk around the streets naked in front of children? Like, what a horrible message that sends to the public. And I'm like, well, God bless you, brother, because that's exactly how everybody else feels and thinks about it. It's only these idiot asshole liberals that are like, yeah, let's celebrate that. Are you out of your fucking mind? And honestly, there's nothing to celebrate. If you look at the stats in terms of all the STDs and child molestation and domestic violence, it's bad. It's bad, 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 bad. There's a lot of bad. But we all know this is just another cultural Marxism weapon against Western civilization, you know. So yeah, getting back to that liberal dude, he just has no sense of self. He has no true sense of his own history. He kind of, his career and his social world are locked up in a kind of liberal feminist paradigm, I guess. And if you want to survive in a world like that, then you gotta qualify to it, if you understand what I mean by that. Constantly say and do things that show, look how liberal I am. Do you like me now? Am I approved? It's the opposite of self-actualization. Victorian Time Traveler says, that's the thing that bothers me a lot. I don't want to have to be harmed personally to change their view. Craig says, how long should I wait until the ink dries before erasing pencil lead? And does it vary based on ink? 100,000%. So I used to do real ink with a brush and a Crowquill pen, and that's called India ink. You can get it at any art supply store. And that's the traditional old school way. I only use markers now, which pretty much just dry right on the spot. And so I can like go right in there, I can ink something and go right in there and start erasing, and it won't smear. If I were using India ink the way I used to, then it's gonna fucking smear and you just ruined your page. So like you just created a big problem for yourself. So I don't know what kind of artwork you're doing though. So the thing is, this is like the left. They're basically like, as soon as they find out that you're not part of their cult, then you're pretty much in trouble with them. Like they're like, oh, okay, you're that guy, or like, oh, I'm not gonna be your friend, or I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm gonna close my mind, and I'm gonna judge you. I'm gonna distance you, and I'm gonna tell all my friends not to be your friend because they're little fags, you know. And I don't. I'm trying to, this my club scene stuff is my break. It's my weekend break. So I'm not looking to have that problem, if you know what I'm trying to say. I kind of took a risk just talking to him about that. You know what I mean? I, of course, was very careful how I phrased my questions and stuff. But then I kind of got a little, like a little more, a little edgier, a little edgier, a little edgier. And it was exciting. It was an interesting, like, he seemed very engaged in the conversation. He, like I said, he says he's interested in politics. But it's only good as long as he can kind of, be in control of the discussion and make sure that he, you know, says the right things and he's not challenged. Like, there's nothing that I said during the conversation that changed his mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't go, oh my God, you're right. Like, if foreigners can't fix their own countries, how the fuck are they going to help ours? Like, none of that ever happened. He never ever had, like, because, like, it's locked into his head that, like, foreigners good, white man bad. Don't ever question the narrative, you know. Foreigners good, white man bad. Foreigners good, white man bad. Foreigners good, white man bad. You know, fucking. It's awful. Yeah, it's so awful. Foreigners good, white man bad. Foreigners good, white man bad. So again, it points to how extremely, extremely important it is that we know who we are, that we celebrate who we are, that we practice who we are. I think that is the final boss. I think that's the final boss when, like, we've come this far where, like, we figured out the Jews, we figured out the system, we know what's going on. What's the next? What's the last stage? It's not so much, how do I say? Once our people are free mentally, spiritually from our enemies, we will automatically, what's the word? Opt out. We'll opt out of a society, a system that's anti-white. We'll be like I was saying, for example, like, why is it our responsibility to take care of people from other countries? How is that? How does that serve us? Oh, well, there is no us. You're just individuals. Oh, really? Okay, well then what are they? Oh, well, they're Nigerian, they're Somalian, they're Guatemalan, they're, oh, well, isn't that a group? White man bad, white man bad, white man bad, white man bad, white man bad. You know, fucking. To me, I don't. I'm much more. What's the word? Like, white liberals are more of the enemy than anybody. It's the wolf at the door is not the problem. It's the fucking traitor that opened the goddamn door and let the wolf in. You see, and it's not just let him in, but it's like, oh, here, let me make your bed for you. Let me serve you. Let me feed you. Let me grow you. Let me make it worse and worse and worse and worse. Nightmare. It's fucking nightmare fuel. Anyway. The music stopped. Where did it go? All right, let's read some comments. Craig says, how long should I wait? I just read that. That story is proof they don't believe in individualism. I don't know which you're talking about, because this guy is 100,000% into individualism. That's his whole thing, We're all just individuals, man. He died thinking it was a misunderstanding. Austin Metcalf is the twin that died. Correct. All right, Master Kent, I'm off to bed. It's late here. Oh, yes. Sweet dreams. Good night, sir. Lust is very inconvenient, too. It can be. Yo, Tricky. Tri-Kid. Yeah, Tri-Kid is here. Welcome, welcome. Yo, this looks cool. Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm getting a lot of new people to the channel. Please check out all my other live streams. There's a billion cool live streams with lots of phenomenal art for you to enjoy. Critical Review says, have you seen they're outing many of the influencers? Give me more information now. I must hear this. I must hear this. Tell me now. Okay, I'd love to know more about that. The debate carries on. A good friend of mine in my chat group, he has a very interesting take. He's basically saying something to the effect that, like, at the end of the day, what has Fuentes done? Like, what has he done that's like a net gain for us, And my answer to that was, he's the voice of his generation. He has over 1 million views on some of his videos and stuff, It's tricky because I'm not a groiper. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm just essentially pointing out, like, and then also I wouldn't even say that he's us, and he wouldn't say he's us. Like, I don't think Fuentes would call himself dissident right. I mean, he's obviously mainstreamed a lot of our values, talking points. But he's Catholic, and he's just, I don't know, obviously he's right wing, he's nationalist. And he obviously has a very strong racial consciousness. It's a hard conversation to have because people in the dissident right are very prone to what I would call purity spiraling. And I don't think that's terribly wrong per se, but I think that we should celebrate any wins because we're so fucking, ghettoized and like cut off from the mainstream, that any progress is something we should celebrate, But a lot of people are like, no, we should not celebrate it because it wasn't us. It was somebody else who doesn't agree 100% on our particular values or something or other. It's kind of like when Kanye came out with the Heil Hitler song. A lot of us were like, this is hysterical. This is, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm hearing, blah, blah, blah. And then others were like, he's not one of us, and blah, 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 and they hated it. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, if we just moved the ball down the field 100 yards and you're fucking complaining? Like, why? Well, excuses, reasons, excuses, reasons. I just get exhausted with that. I feel like some people, not everyone, is actually looking for reasons not to believe that we can win. And that's disturbing to me. To me, that's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I mean, you're kind of working for the enemy if you're doing that. Like, we're not. I don't know. We're in a tough spot. We have to think through what we're able to accomplish as an underground. Let's read some chats. Some people like to lose. So that's the black pill to me. Is it's like it's the chud meme. Nothing ever happens. Some people they get like they have like a little mini orgasm every time they get to post the nothing ever happens meme. That's like, see, I told you, it's never gonna get better. Yeah, and I'm like, why the fuck are you acting like that? That's so fucking weird to me. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? But just say yes or no right now. And I want to hear more about this outing. This is interesting. Like, who's outing who about what? That does look pretty damn good. That MMA kickboxer from the UK. Are we talking about Tate? Something Tate. I forget his first name. The bald guy. He was can't think of his name. Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate. So he was arrested for being a pimp in like Romania. I don't know like how he got out of jail or whatever, but like now he's in Miami partying with Nick Fuentes, with Sneeko and that Arab brownie with the big nose. Can't remember his name. And it's like, even though I say all of these things that are like positive in terms of like, hey, let's recognize what Fuentes is doing, has done something. This is where the energy is. I think there's a false understanding that I'm like, I don't know, somehow like drank the Fuentes Kool-Aid or something. Like I'm a Groiper now or something. Again, it's like any win that we can get, I'm good with. Let's get the wins. Get the wins. Get the wins. Actually, that's got to be black too. All right, I'm gonna start doing some inking here. They're all together. Well, again, when I try to talk to people who I am on the side of, it seems to me that they are often putting words in my mouth. Oh, tell me about it. From people I'm not even aware of. That's happened a lot to me too. I mean, it's important to have a critical debate. It really is. If we maintain the desire to find the truth, that's what matters. Is just keep that as the goal. This is not going to work. I need a bigger brush. Yeah, a lot of times people will do a personal attack on you because you don't agree with them, and that's to me not productive. Definitely shuts down the conversation. Time will tell. There's no amount of conversation we can have that's gonna like change anything. We got to get out there and do shit. You know what I'm saying? And this is a point that I keep making. Like my next week, the 23rd, I start my Nationalist Culture Review show. And again, I mean, it's I don't know. Maybe I should get like a Jewish patron who can pay to give me millions of views. You know, sorry, that's like don't even joke about that. You know, but like I say, it's about building us up more, having a stronger sense of collective identity, making it okay to say it. You know, it's like it's okay to be white, like that kind of stuff. You know. Maybe that's my next question for my leftist friend. You know, are you comfortable saying it's okay to be white? Like, I think at that moment, he'll be like, "Oh, you're a Nazi. I get it." You know what I mean? He'll be like, "Oh, I've been talking to a Nazi this whole time. I thought you were a libertarian." You know, or I could just rephrase it like, "What do you think about like those people that put out posters that say things like it's okay to be white?" I already know what he's gonna say, but there's no real point in doing that actually. But what I could do then is say, why is it not okay? Well, because of racism and colonialism and capitalism and ism and Christianity. I mean, how sick is it to like celebrate hating yourself? It's like fucking. And I'm a counselor. I take care of kids. Oh, really? But you hate yourself? How about go fucking punch yourself in the head, you dumb fuck? You teaching white kids to hate themselves too? Is that your job? Is that what the system pays you to do? Put them on drugs? Oh, no, autism doesn't come from drugs. I don't know, dude. It's fucked up out there. Fucked it up, I did. Yes, sirree, Bob. All right, what do we got in the chatteroonies? I actually lost. Hold on. When I talk to people who I am on the same side as, it seems. Oh, we already read that. Victorian says, I actually lost some friends a few years ago, and one of the last conversations with them, I was disagreeing with something Devin Stack said about the movie Sound of Freedom. So, Occult Circus is back. Yay! Yo, just got here. Will their show be hosted on this channel? Yeah, of course. I only have one channel, actually. The Nationalist Culture Review show will be on this channel. Correctamundo. If you want, we just did a really cool, Etta and I did a great debate on this channel. There's a couple other interviews. I've got, what's his face? Cultured Thug, Arval from Return to the Land. There's a bunch of good interviews on here. But I've mostly been doing these live streams, so I'm gonna have to hunt around a little bit to find the interviews. Okay, Victorian says, I'm a big fan of Devin Stack, but I also think for myself. Right. Hippocratic Oath, all your unit 820, 82, all your agents just jumped. Your 7,000 check is in the mail, right? Yeah. You know how that is, right? Like, Israel's got some program where they pay $7,000, like what, a month, I think, to post pro-Israeli propaganda on social media. You can literally, it's a literal job. I mean, what does that even fucking say? What does it even fucking say? It's just, it's so obvious that like we need to pay people to lie for us in order to win the narrative that controls the way people believe about themselves and behave. See, I mean, I had a firsthand experience, with that guy I've been talking about, that conversation. He's a perfect example of the socially engineered goyim. Perfect example. We're all supposed to be like that. We're all supposed to hate ourselves and help out immigrants and, you know, grease the wheel of our own destruction. We're all supposed to do that and get, paid in some way, be part of that system. So, moving on. Devin Stack is Mormon? Really? Ugh, that's weird. A cult says, so was their debate a part of the Culture Review show? No, the Culture Review show starts on the 23rd, and this debate is just a one-off debate with Critical Review and myself on Nick Fuentes. I don't see myself using the review show as a debate platform. I want it to be a fun show where people can come and watch funny reels and listen to good music and art and, promote artists in our world, our sphere, our culture. Whatever new and interesting things that are going on in the dissident right, we can feature it, There's a gigantic amount of content producers out there now, way more than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, memes were the thing. And then now it's like AI videos and other types of reels like Agartha reels and edits and that kind of shit. AI has had a gigantic role in our media culture now. So the show is going to feature a lot of that. I do know that some people are like profoundly anti-AI, but when you see how it's used for our purpose, suddenly it's like, oh shit, this is a really powerful tool. This is good. We want this. And it's an expression of culture too, which is pretty fascinating. An expression of our culture, So, what else am I doing here with this image? I think I'm going to take a break from this image and move on to something else. I got a whole page that needs penciling. This one's really violent. This dude gets punched in the face and it smashes his brains out. Very graphic. There's a couple pretty graphic violence scenes in this graphic novel. Let me move on. So, was there debate? A cult says, what will you discuss on the 23rd? Is it on this channel? Yes, it is on this channel. I'm having Greg Johnson of Countercurrents on the show. He's the primary guest. Who here knows who Greg Johnson is? If you do, then you're cool. One of the OG white nationalist publishers. Really, really important person in our movement. A big dog. Like, for me to get him on the show is frankly kind of surprising. It's like it's setting the bar very high. And like when other bigger influencers see that he was on the show, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, if he's on the show, I can be on the show. And that's kind of how that works. Which is great. I mean, that's good. So how's it going to work? So with that particular interview, there's an author in Countercurrents named Spencer J. Quinn, who is a friend of mine. And Spencer and I worked on books that were published through Countercurrents. And so we are going to... What are we going to do? We're going to talk about those books, and that's the culture side of it. So we'll feature that stuff. That's kind of, like I said, that it's a culture show. So we're going to feature any kind of arts and culture that people do. So that'll be the primary focus, but then I'll do a couple promotions for other organizations, show some video of, like, say, like this graphic novel company, New Delphi Media, play some music from our sphere, and then take questions. We're going to have like a question section at the end where people can, I'll pop their whatever their questions on the screen. They can talk to the guests and make comments and questions. I do have a, what do you call it, Venmo. So like at the top of the screen, there's a little QR code where people can Venmo me, what do you call them, donations. YouTube does not allow me to do super chats because of the type of content that I produce. I'm kind of like one breath away from being shut down by YouTube. It's not. I should be a lot more careful, but I think the feds need my channel open so that they can like keep an eye on me and other guests that I have and stuff. So they're not going to want me shut down. Meanwhile, the use of cars to attack ICE agents is up over 1,000%. But yeah, let's watch Donald Kent's art show, because that could be a threat to society. It's fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. White people are starting to become self-aware. We'd better stop that. 7,000 a month in exchange for your soul. Fuck, bro. Wow, man. That's harsh. That is harsh. A cult says you got things organized for it. Did you take long to compile things? Yes, I did, actually. I've been spending quite a while creating folders of content, video content, downloading tons of videos, testing things out. I discovered that when I have too many internet streams open, that my computer gets laggy, like choppy, and so I'm even afraid to have two guests on at the same time, that it's gonna be a bit laggy. I'm worried about that, to be honest with you. I need a new laptop. Mine got damaged recently. I spent all this time setting up this show and my fucking laptop gets damaged. Oh, thanks. Fortunately, I've got some money coming in that is going to cover that, but it's just bad timing. What else is new? What are we doing here? You know what? I shouldn't have done that. Just realized something. That looks weird. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do this. Hold on a sec. Is the music in the background okay? I sure hope so. I think it's nice. Maybe I'm just a bad person. Yeah, I love the Hyperborean edits. Oh, dude, I freaking love them. They're magical. Let's see what's happening in the chat. Hippocratic Oath says, all you need to do is wear a buttery kippa, and say nice things about the moose. I'm a Mormon too, really? Okay. AI is a tool. Yes, it is. And let's see what this message is here. We're not going to reply to that. What time will the stream start? 7 p.m. Eastern time. Critical says, I'm very happy for you, Donald. Well, that's extremely kind and sweet. Thank you. The DNB is fine. Good. Das ist gut, ja. By the way, you guys should subscribe to Critical Review. I was on her show not long ago. I don't know if you can put a link in there for everybody. Craig says, between the stream malfunctioning consistently and needing to go back and forth to work, I'll have to recap later. All right, don't worry about it. Forget about it. What are we doing on time, man? This stream's been pretty long. It's 85 minutes so far. What the I'm sorry that I swear so much, guys. It's like a release valve for stress, you know? I don't think it really harms anybody, to be honest. I gotta grab some water, talk amongst yourselves. Oh, okay, I'm back. It could be hypocrite only. Splattercat can put a link. Yeah, he's not here. You know what I do in cases like that is I'll type it out and then put spaces in between things so that people can read, critical review space.com, and the name of her website that she hosts, the site that hosts her show is really long. It's like whenever that website was made was like years ago. So like normally you don't have sites that have like 3 long words as the title. But if you would like to post that, you can. Das ist gut. Okay. One real nice thing last night. Well, I probably shouldn't talk about that. It's about a girl. She'll. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe not. Well, there is this girl that I adore. And we have a wonderful friendship, but it's just a friendship, so it's not gonna it's not gonna evolve more than that. All right, let's get some inking done. And away we go. I'll zoom in on something. Yeah, maybe we'll start here. Oh, thank you, Donald. Okay. Yeah. So, critical review can obviously talk in more detail, but my understanding is her show is about the history of Germany. What I would say the true history of Germany, meaning not the propaganda bullshit that we have been taught. If you search for channels at Crotical Review 1, sorry, I'm sure it's Critical Review. One of the things I'm famous for is I use voice to text a lot when I do messaging, and I won't check it before I send it. Then you get these horrendous like typos, and most people can read it and be like, okay, he meant to say X, but like, it didn't come out right, It's kind of funny. And frustrating and embarrassing too. You're a good man, Donald. Oh, what a nice thing to say. Well, I fooled you. Just kidding. Wow. That's pretty cool, huh? Awesome. So what else can we talk about, guys? What's on your minds is what do you got going on in the noggin? What's bouncing around out there? This is some sick beats, man. I'm gonna turn it up. I think I'm gonna turn it up. Mr. Veritas is here. These streaming services are out of control. Let me see what you were saying here. What's on my mind? I hate football, but actually wanted to watch Bears versus Rams. But it's on a streaming service. You got to pay extra for unlock everything. Yeah, fuck that shit. I've criticized football like intensely among my friends. My friends, when I say my friends, I mean like normies around me in my sort of basic life. And they hate it. Like they hate me for it because they're like, like my life is defined by football. Oh, they're really, super hardcore fans. And it's just another form of fandom. I get it. Like I shouldn't really shit on it as much as I do. I know. But it's not that I hate football as much as I hate how football is more important than the arts, for example. I have a kind of I wouldn't call it a jealousy because the arts are far more superior to sports, but it's an anger at how stupid people are, how uncultured people are, how their values and their priorities are all fucking wrong. And we were just talking about how who we think we are determines how we behave. And, if your existence is a football team and the jerseys and did we win and all of that other stupidity, you're pathetic. You're literally pathetic. And sadly, very, 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 very many people are like this. Like, that's mainstream. That's normal. That's considered normal. You know what I'm saying? I know I sound like an asshole when I say that, and I'm sorry to come off that way. If you were to just look at football for what it literally is, which is just a game, and be okay with that it's like there's nothing, you know. It's like, okay, fine, you know. But my thinking also is that, like, there's something about winter. Like, if you live in a cold climate, football is a type of distraction that people have to kind of help them through the winter. And winter is hell. It's not hell, but it can be hell. It can, you know, how many people have died from car crashes, or, you know, and then just coping with the snow and various other things is, it sucks. It really does suck. And it's depressing as fuck. So, you know, but like, trying to think back in the past when people didn't have football, you know, they read books. You know what I'm saying? They did things with their community. They learned an instrument. They enriched themselves in some way, you know. And that's it. You know, that's what I got to say about that. So shut up. Take it or leave it, baby. Oh, the thing that is hateable about it, though, now is how it's just another form of like white replacement, you know? Gradually over time, we've seen how all sports have just become black now. Like, they're just all black, you know? There's very few white people, you know, comparatively, and it's kind of all about that whole idea of, like, you know, making blacks the kind of vanguard of society. Deracination, all of that shit. What else? I saw there's a channel on Instagram that is essentially, the whole purpose of the channel is to show people that football is rigged. And video after video after video, you see point blank cases that cannot be refuted, where the players themselves are giving the other players whatever it is that they need to like get the score. And then there were even other things outside of that, like bending certain rules or breaking certain, like, football has rules, you know, and how I don't know the rules of football very well because they don't, to me it's meaningless. But obviously the fans would know that stuff, you know. Pretty mind bending. So I'm convinced that football is rigged. And had I not seen these videos that clearly show the actual literal proof of it, I would be like, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory, you know. But now I realize it's absolutely not. Do they change their mind about who's going to win or what's what or how that's all going to play out? I don't know. I don't know how, like, who's in charge of that per se. There have been football players that have come out and even said, you know, it's rigged, and they disappear. You know, they're not part of the club anymore. this kind of music reminds me of this particular girl that was she's a local DJ. She's very beautiful. She's very exotic. Has this kind of Mediterranean exoticism about her, like this really exotic, long, curly hair, and like a photographer's dream. Like she's really, really amazing to look at. And she's generally a pretty sweet girl. She's kind of slightly shy. She's got her own style. I'm really attracted to women like that, you know. And I remember seeing her the first time, and fantastic DJ. I had a super good time, and I was just kind of getting to know her and chitty chatty and this and that, and feeling it out a little bit or whatever. And it seemed to be going somewhere. And then she just like dissed me super hard in this one situation, and I realized, okay, that's fine. I know, like, I know where I stand or whatever, and I just let it go, you know. But I like see her out all the time. That's like, oh shit. So I just ignore her, but out of the corner of my eye, I can see she's watching me, you know. And there's a side of me that's like, don't go back, 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 don't go back. White man bad, white man bad, white man bad. I don't know about other people, but I would say for artists, certain like I think it's fairly known that like when artists get like obsessed with, you know, their muse, it can be a very powerful thing. She'll never be my muse though. Could have been. Too bad. All right, let's do some reading, Mister. Is there something new here? Yeah, hold on. Critical review. They squeeze every penny. Yeah, you're like a pariah for not liking football in America. I'm basically forced to at least loosely follow along. I understand. If I can't at least talk basic football, then it harms my career. It's so stupid. That fucking sucks. That sucks shit. My dad years ago told me, let me tell you some advice, son. And he said, like, learn about, even though you don't care, learn about what's going on in football so that you can talk to people. And he explains to me, like, when I'm at work, during football season, then like, this comes up and da 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 da, whatever. And it's just a thing, where people are, it's a thing, it's what people talk about, something. I didn't really get it. I think I was really too young, frankly, to understand the social dynamics of such things, Now I totally get it, obviously. But I'm of the personality slash mindset where I'll be nice to people. I let them do and say. I'm never openly mean to people. On some occasions, I will say something sarcastic or make a joke or something that kind of says something. But overall, yeah, social emotional intelligence it trumps IQ. It really does. That's a pretty fucking cool panel right there. Shut up. All right, let's finish up here. What time is it? It's only 6:24. What? Feels like 12:30. If I can't at least talk, I read that. People aren't really meant to be productive members of society in the winter. I like that idea. I agree with that. That's a wonderful thought. We should take winter off. We were meant to basically hibernate and get women pregnant. It's obviously true. I mean, how like it doesn't you don't have to be a brain surgeon to know that. It's pretty clear. Laying around, having snacks. You got all the food stored away for winter. And can't go outside. It's kind of cold. So it's warmer under the sheets. Sorry. All right, I'll stop. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's been rigged like all sports. Wah, wah. I once dated a girl that looked like the girl on the Sun-Made Raisin Box. Wow, cool. Sweet. Lol. Okay, I don't know what you're lolling about. Was it my joke or something else? It's like this. The snow is 4 feet high. You can't even open the door. Just throw another log on the fire and jump back in bed. And get like a cup of hot cocoa or tea or something. And, kind of snuggle together. And anyway, moving on. Lol. Okay. So I haven't been dating. I mean, I was dating. I did kind of see a girl for a little while over the summer, but I'm just real busy and stuff. So anyway, I've thought though that once I get a couple things squared away, I'm gonna try out some online dating. I know I hate it too. I know. I'm told that if you do the ones where you pay the money, then those are the good ones. I don't know. I'm not even sure I really want to do that. Like I don't know. Maybe just kind of get out there more in some way. But the problem is there's no, like, I don't meet women my age out on the scene. I need to be meeting women that are close to my age. Yeah. That's just the fact of it. I'm depressed now because he reminded me of her damn you. Her damn you. Yeah. I think I know what you're trying to say. That something reminded you of this girl. I know how that goes. So the site that I joined, I haven't paid yet, but you know how it is. You join, and then they'll be like, oh, if you want to see the people that are interested in you, you pay the monthly fee or whatever. Da, da. So I'm getting a lot of notifications of people who want to meet me, but I haven't put the money down yet. So we'll see how it goes. I have very low expectations about it, though. We'll see. I laughed my ass off. Just watched the Jake Lang mob attack. That Jake Lang, I believe, is a Jew. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but I think that's been shown. And he got attacked. He got like somebody hit him in the head, and he's bleeding and stuff. Oh wow, guys, check this out. I just remembered. I posted this on my Twitter. All right, I think I found it on like Instagram, but anyway, ICE.gov. They they just posted a clip from American, what's it called? American X. It's the one where Edward Norton plays a neo-Nazi. You know the one, American X. I forget the name of the movie exactly. Sounds like that, something like that. And there's a very famous scene in the movie where he's kind of lecturing to his friends in a park or something about like, immigrants coming to this country and fucking everything up. And, it's a very, very strong, poignant speech. And it's fucking true. Like what he says is just fucking true. And so ICE.gov just posted it on their official government website. And they did put a little caveat. They said, we don't agree with the racism, and we didn't like listening to this in 1996 when the movie came out, but now we recognize that it's 100% true. Whoa. Why y'all blackpilling when you got ass posting shit like that? So that's pretty fucking awesome. I'm super impressed with that. And I like the culture of that. I like the mood of that. Imagine, you could never in your lifetime imagine that ICE would, or that a government agency would make a quote like that. Would give any kind of airplay to that type of culture. So, I know straight out of the gate, the black pillars will be like, oh, well, that's because they're trying to co-opt our movement and they're trying to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, fuck's sake, can we have 1 second to breathe? Can we just be positive about things for 1 second, please? No, it's all over. It's all over. There's no point in winning and trying. Everything's, just all this like negativity. I'm so fucking sick of it. Yeah, but you're wrong though, Don. Oh, really? Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Don't hate me, because I'm positive. Don't hate me. I really don't care. Like if someone comes to me and says, see, like, this is how or why that was done, and this is why it's against us or something, I'll be like, oh, okay, you got a good point, or okay, I agree with you. But otherwise, I'm like, no, like that's insane. That's pretty insane, And so like the idea is that ICE is doing this now so that later they can turn it on us, And I can see how that can happen. I can see why that would happen. I think that it's a solid speculation that that could happen, but it's until the future comes, we'll see, you know. So living in a state of future speculation isn't really living as far as I can tell. So that's not how I'm gonna live anyway. I'll be a fool. I'll be a happy fool. Happy fool. I kind of like that title. Let's read some things. Jake, something. Time traveler. Just kidding. I'm not actually depressed. Good. Yeah, he's a Jan 6 too. Oh wow, really? Wow. See that says a lot right there. That's interesting. Uh-oh, battery's getting low. No can do. What that means is that at any minute my phone could just cut out. That happened like last night actually. I was right in the middle of something and then the show stopped suddenly, abruptly. No, it wasn't the Jews. It was my battery. Man, I'm fucking digging this music. Bruh. Anyway, let's see what else is in the mix here. We got Hippocratic Oath is given a Heil. The ICE website said this. Yeah, it is. Where can you see it? Are you on Instagram? Are you on X.com? Because if you're, I don't. I think we follow each other on X. You can just go there and you'll see that I reposted it there. Have a good night. Oh, okay. Oh, he's saying good night because my phone is gonna die. Good thinking. That's preemptive right there. I'm going to kind of go to the bitter end here, folks. Going to the bitter end. Gonna be a happy fool. My son was telling me about a guy in a band who killed himself recently. And I said, you know, it's really not good because people think that suicide is an escape from your pain, but your frequency is the same when you go into the fourth dimension. And so you're not going to escape your pain. You'll just experience it in the ghost realm. So like that's not the answer. And the answer is to raise your frequency and get out of your depression. I know, sounds so easy. Obviously not. It's the kind of stuff that heroes are made of, you know. But all I'm saying essentially is that suicide is not an answer to your problems. Where did that come from? I don't even know. I just wanted to say it. I guess some people might think this music is repetitive. I read some sort of article about like techno music and how the brain interacts with it in such a way like there's a certain frequency again frequency that occurs that is very comforting to the mind. Something about theta waves or something or other, and but it's more specifically to do with house music. I had a friend years ago. His sister killed herself, and it was very ugly circumstances. She was always very unstable, very like a just a really mean person, really unhappy, grouchy, mean sort of person that hurt the people that loved her, and all. It's just I don't know, problematic person. I don't know. He was just born with like a tortured soul or something. I don't know. But the situation was something like she was, she had killed herself in the attic of the home. My friend's nephew, the son of the woman who killed herself, not long after that death, there's like the door of that area was like kicked open or like just like sort of broken open, like destroyed open, and like he heard a scream and the door smashed and he ran upstairs to look at it and saw that. And obviously essentially he was saying like this basically was her ghost. It was pretty terrifying to think about, but it's kind of an example of what I'm saying. That makes a new problem. Oh well, I guess I gotta deal with the problem. It just took a dark turn. I'm sorry about that. Let's see what the message is. Show. Hippocratic Ghost says, sometimes I wonder if it was any demons that got left behind after a suicide, her parasites. This is a really smart comment. Holy shit. I actually had an idea. So this is a Gnostic view for starters. Like people would have to understand from the Gnostic belief system, we have what are called archons. They're essentially parasite demons that attach themselves to us and they feed off of our suffering. They don't only feed off of our suffering, they feed off of any strong emotions, that's new information that I recently read. And that, like, imagine if somebody dies, then maybe they lost a source of food or something, and maybe the ghosts are actually the archons crying out in hunger. Now, interestingly enough, in Buddhism, they talk about the different realms of existence and the different types of beings that exist in these various realms. And they have a word they have a being called the preta. And a preta is essentially what they call a hungry ghost. And it's a type of being that its suffering is constant hunger. The mythology of Buddhism is such that whenever they try to put food to their lips, it turns into fire, and their necks are so small that they can't swallow and all that. I think that's more of the kind of mythological side of things, but I think pretas they have to be archons. I would say that's the Buddhist equivalent of an archon. Oh, I feel bad for the kid. Oh God, I know. I knew him. I hung out with him for a while. I mean, he was like a young adult when the mom killed herself, and I remember like I went to his wedding. I went to the funeral. I knew the family fairly well. Oh, that looks so fucked up. I don't know if this is right. I think I fucked up. God damn it. Pardon my language. I'm swearing again. Boy, do I like to swear. Another, see, talking and drawing. But no, that does make sense. All right. I'm going to stop because I'm fucking that up. Moving on. Message, show. Tracy Twyman said it might be simpler. Some demons just like to joyride and naturally get pissed when their host dies. Totally believable. Totally believable. Where was all this going? I was talking about archons. Fuck, there was a point to this and I forgot what it was. I can't draw and talk at the same time. Anyway, phone is really pretty low at this point anyway, so it's a good time to wrap her up. Yay, on a nice negative note. Good job, Don. At least you're not getting your brains punched out of your head. Let's leave off on that. Ah, look at that face. Detonate the bomb. That was the bomb from the previous scene. I showed you Putin in here, with the bomb strapped to his chest. To detonate the bomb. So anyway, ghosts. Yeah, I know. Here, let's just at least do a palette cleanser. Okay, we're gonna do a little palette cleanser. And we'll get right up to the edge here. Some comic book art. So we were talking about my art and what does it look like when it's colored. It looks fucking badass when it's colored. So these are some examples. They're pretty sick. Zoom out a tiny bit on that. The Black Sun. Pretty cool. In this book, I can tell you something fun. There's a scene here in like the Senate, whatever, they're having a meeting. And for the character of the president, I modeled him after Jared Taylor. So like, I got Jared Taylor as the president in this book, So sue me. Anyway. Good shit. And then also I've got a couple pages, little samplers from the different comics that I've done. Just a couple pages. You can see different stories from different times that I've worked and published. Archons sound like the JEWS. My personal belief is that when they say they're the chosen people, that's what they're chosen for, is to work for Yaldabaoth and create chaos and suffering on Earth. That's the conclusion I've come to about that. Here, let's take a look. This is interesting. This could be Yaldabaoth right there, Yaldabaoth. So this is an illustration from the Bizarchives 2, which you can buy. The Bizarchives 2, it's on the online. MLK is how the Moos spell Moloch. Oh, fascinating. They don't use vowels. Fascinating. Chosen by the devil. Yeah, I know. Honestly, dude, if your religion calls you to, enslave, rape, and kill people, your God's the devil, okay? It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. It's very simple. So anyway, for this particular story, Dave Martell was asking me, like, I need a creature that is like the Cthulhu H.P. Lovecraft creature. And I didn't read that story. I mean, it's a famous story. I've seen versions of Cthulhu. I don't know even how to say it properly. And I had it, it's just like a mash up, a mutation of all these different monstrous aspects and qualities. So I had this idea of like faces on top of faces, where we have like, here's a main face with the eyes and the mouth, and then there's like a kind of like a goat, but then I have like these spider eyes in here, and then these eyes would be more like maybe a crab or something, or not a crab. I don't know, some weird, maybe even a snake or something. And then of course the tentacles here over here, they're just like entrails, with like a skull. Here you've got a bat wing. Here you've got like an angel wing, a pig and a crow, and then the breasts. It's all of these sort of these pincers. In this story, this boy, you know, goes into this legendary cave where like a monster is said to dwell, and the monster hypnotizes people, and like they walk to it thinking, I don't know, under some form of hypnosis, and then it probably just eats him, I suppose, I would imagine. So I really, I mean, let's just zoom right in on this. That's a work of art right there. In fact, let's even show his shadow in the water. To me, that's so beautiful. I think that's really beautiful, even though it's horrible. But there's something strangely wonderful about this. I'm really pleased with this piece, even though it's like extremely grotesque. I think that's what this whole thing's about, is horror. You're creating a sense of something disturbing, something horrible, something that this guy would do. This guy's not a good dude. Anyway, let's do a little reading in the Chatteroonie. Have a good night. By the way, Baphomet is another name for the Prophet Muhammad. Why am I not surprised? Jeez. Hello to Rexus. Hippocratic Oath says Sophia Baphomet is a complex entity. Elon dressing up as that entity. Fascinating. With his sort of like satanic red armor, I think. Your stuff looks great in color too. Why, thank you, son. All right. On that note, God bless you guys. Become who you are. Okay? Never surrender.